Today's episode is going to deal with the concept of creator rights and proper compensation. Now this is actually a pretty heavy topic, and it's honestly one that I don't think I'm qualified to talk about. But I'm going to talk about it anyway because I feel like this is an important topic, and the more people who know about it, the better. You can find other smarter people talking about this same thing everywhere on the internet. So what I'm going to do is just offer a Cliff Notes version of what's going on. Also, while this episode is going to primarily focus on DC Comics, and while I can't speak to the current practices of Marvel, I can say with certainty that both companies are going to be guilty of what we're going to be discussing, so it applies to both. Without much further ado, on with the show. Last week, writer Gerry Conway took to Tumblr to discuss one of the characters he created for DC Comics, Killer Frost. Specifically, he's talking about how he doesn't receive any proper compensation for the character's appearance on the Flash TV show, as a main character. And in writing this blog post, Conway reopened a debate that's been around since before a lot of us were even born. And that is the concept of proper creator compensation for their work. See, the way Marvel and DC usually work is through what's known as a work-for-hire contract. Simply put, they'll pay a freelance artist to work on a specific title for a certain amount of time. It could be a couple of issues, it could be a few years. Once that contract is over, the creator is under no obligation to continue working for the publisher. And in turn, the publisher is under no obligation to continue paying the creator. And whatever the writer or artist did under their work-for-hire days is completely owned by their publisher now. Meaning if I were hired by DC and created a brand new Green Lantern character, I won't see any money from it if that character appears in a movie or a TV show or an action figure. This has been a problem that has plagued mainstream superhero comics for years, going all the way back to when Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster created Superman. Hell, it's part of the reason why Todd McFarlane and those guys left Marvel in the 90s to go create Image Comics. According to them, Marvel and DC like to act like no one person created any of their characters, that they all just appeared out of the ether, I guess. Now, it's not to say that comic book publishers don't compensate their writers and artists. They do. They just don't seem to make it easy. It's not an automatic thing. With DC, you have to fill out a form for every single character you're claiming an equity on, and then they decide whether or not you're owed compensation. And things can get pretty murky depending on the character. Power Girl, for example, is considered a derivative character because she's literally derived from Superman. She's his cousin from an alternate dimension. Therefore, she's not considered an original enough creation by Conway and artist Rick Estrada, but rather a part of the whole Superman universe created by Siegel and Shuster and now owned by DC. Killer Frost is also interesting, especially because the Killer Frost seen on The Flash is not the same Killer Frost that Conway and Al Milgrom created. Their Killer Frost alter ego is Crystal Frost. The one that appears on the Flash TV show is Caitlin Snow, created by Sterling Gates and Durla Santa Cruz. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, I apologize. This is the ultimate catch-22 here. Conway and Milgrom cannot claim equity for this version of Killer Frost because they didn't create this version of Killer Frost. And Gates and Santa Cruz can't claim equity because their Killer Frost is a derivative of the original Killer Frost. Things aren't always this black and white either. Back when Paul Levitz ran DC Comics, he enacted a payout system that pretty much automatically paid work-for-hire writers and artists for anything they did that was adapted into another medium. This can mean anything from major storylines and characters to minor plot elements. Those blue flowers from Batman Begins, Christopher Priest got a check for that because he originated the idea in a Batman comic he wrote. But once Diane Nielsen took over DC Comics, unfortunately they went back to their old ways. The Paul Levitz payout system is no more. I think the worst part about this is every work-for-hire creator knows this is an issue and knows there's really nothing they can do about it, but they have to take the jobs anyway because it's the only way they can make their living. It's absolutely within the publisher's right not to pay a work-for-hire writer or artist beyond their initial contract. They own these characters, they can do whatever the hell they want with them. It's more of a matter of acknowledgement. These creators want to be acknowledged for the work they've done, be it through proper payment preferably, or through a statement or byline saying that this person created this character or storyline. Now, Gerry Conway has asked his fans to write to DC and other websites to promote this issue, to make it known that this is a problem that needs to be solved. And honestly, I think that's the best thing we can do at this point. Circulate this video and write to whoever you can and let them know that comic book writers and artists, especially work-for-hire ones, need to be compensated for what they do. The more people know about this, the better, and the more of a chance there is that this problem can get solved. Because these guys gotta eat and pay bills, man. They need money. What do you guys think? What's your opinion on writers and artists getting proper compensation for work-for-hire content? I know it's a heavy topic, like I said, but it's something that really needs to be talked about in the comic book world. Let me know down below, or anywhere on social media, of course. And as always, like if you like, subscribe if you really like, share this video with your friends. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. We all know Frank Miller is the guy who used to be one of the greatest voices in comic books. From his legendary runs on Daredevil, to The Dark Knight Returns and Batman Year One, to his independent stuff like Sin City, Big Guy and Rusty, Martha Washington, 300. The list goes on.
I think that might be like a concept art thing. I really think it's just like
I
think
think
it's the
so.
Joker. He's damaged.
I tried to
blah,
play
blah.
with the levels on the picture
Yeah.
and see if it looked like a little roster or something, and I couldn't find anything.
Yeah.